got a beer and shots.
Wait, he got a beer?
Yeah, Corona. Corona and shots. Corona and shots of.
You want the Corona vaccine too? Are you got it?
Sure, you got it.
Come on, see, that's a funny other joke.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm not laughing.
I need a booster.
Anyways.
I need a booster.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't think we can talk about it on the live stream because we could get sued by somebody. I don't know.
Well, it's recording, man. Anyways,
I don't know.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Steve.
I'm gonna get a Corona booster shot.
I don't know what the hell that is.
We're making jokes now.
Anyways, please, focus.
Yeah,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Corona.
My name's Steve. Welcome to
what's
Steve's
up?
Thoughts and Nerd Talk. This here is Brian J.
Brian
on my
J's
side.
Nerd Talk. What's up, y'all?
We are here today because we've got a very exciting episode, or show, or whatever you call those things on the box. Programs.
Yeah, yeah, and also the.
I know, Brian.
Okay.
I know. I only have two hands.
Okay.
You're bugging out for no reason.
This is a very odd start for the show. Yes, I'm well aware of it. We're well aware of it, though. I think he's more focused on what he ordered. Hello, my soda.
Yeah, I know. It's hard. It's taking forever, but now it's all coming now.
Okay, so ladies and
it's all coming
gentlemen,
around.
we are here today because we have a couple things we want to discuss. Well, we want to discuss this in a manner that is most respectable, most approachable, and on top of all things, most relatable to all individuals of the nerd community, nerd culture, gamers, fans of anime, books, stories, and so on and such.
There's only a small portion of.
Random tirades and
I mean, most gamers are not aware of what's going on, but we know because we're keeping up with the trial to see if the judge will block the merger that's supposed to go through by July 18th. If the judge blocks it, then Microsoft is going to have to walk away from the deal, which would be catastrophic to their stocks, to their investors, and it would be catastrophic to Activision Blizzard as well. And of course, somebody else could come in and try to buy it, like Amazon, which is not great for gaming because if Jeff Bezos decides that gaming is not a worthwhile.
He's not in charge of Amazon anymore, is he?
He's still in charge of Amazon. He's still very much. I mean, unofficially, but yeah.
Unofficially, I'm behind the scenes pulling the strings.
He's not the main CEO, but he's still in charge. The thing is that
Puppeteers.
if Amazon wants to buy Activision Blizzard, that's not necessarily good for gaming because if Jeff Bezos decides that gaming is not a worthwhile investment, then he could just pull out and shut down both of the studios or sell them to somebody else.
I think that
ironically that he would probably sell it to Microsoft because Microsoft isn't walking away, and the judge has a legitimate reason to block it if he feels like it. Thanks, brother.
I believe
there's an extra shot for starting off the annoyingness.
Thank you.
I believe that excuse my manner of speech. I believe that if anyone else is more interested or intent on buying the entire ABK franchise monopoly and set, it would be Tencent.
Oh, well, now that's definitely a studio that wants to stay in gaming. Cheers.
No, I can't do that. You have to do it with liquor. No, it's with liquor. If you do it with water or soda,
just come on, man.
It's bad luck to do it. Let me get your other shot. I'll do it with you.
You want to get the?
Or
you never got two shots.
No.
Here,
No. I'm just tapping.
No, there's the two shots right here.
Okay.
There's another shot right here.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, it is very well known. Please don't drop it. It is a very well known trait and habit that when you're toasting, it's gotta be with liquor.
Cheers. Salute.
Salute. You can drink it. I can't. I'm still recovering from chemo.
That's right.
He's drinking the
That's
gasoline.
right.
Gasoline, man. It ain't gasoline just yet. So you light it on fire.
That's right. You're still recovering from chemo.
Yeah, so drink your shot.
You're being a healthy, respectable person.
It's not just that. It's the fact that my immune system right now is totally fucked up, compromised.
Yeah.
Anyways, the first rule of order, and it's not that I'm trying to deride the conversation. It's to get to the point. The first case of order that we want to discuss, or that we will be discussing about, is the Xbox Activision Blizzard King trial that is currently ongoing. It's going to go on for 5 days. They won.
Thursday.
They won. FTC's kind of going really far down.
It'll last until Monday or Tuesday, and this is a do or die time. The judge has a decision to make. Is it anti-consumer for Microsoft to own Activision Blizzard and all those properties, all those IPs, by completely cornering the market on cloud gaming? So, Microsoft wants to control cloud gaming. They do. They are in full control of that space. But what they have to convince the judge, they have to do some manipulation and a lot of lying for the next 5 days. They have to say, we are willing to share the cloud gaming space with everybody. We are already making deals with other companies in cloud gaming, and convince the judge that they're not going to have a monopoly on cloud gaming in about 20 years, 15, 20 years, and to let the Activision deal go through. If the judge is not convinced of that, if he thinks they're full of shit and that they do want to control cloud gaming and control all of IPs and control all franchises that are currently created and run by Activision and Blizzard, Call of Duty, Diablo, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, the whole 9 yards. If the judge is not convinced of Microsoft's argument, then he will block the deal, and it will be catastrophic for their stocks, for the enterprise value. Well, the enterprise value will still be high, but the stock, it will be trading down if the judge chooses to block it.
Now, I want to say, it's less about manipulation and more about honesty. Microsoft has shown the commitment that they want to bring access to the games from Activision Blizzard King entirety to gamers worldwide, globally. You have King, which is the developer for Candy Crush Saga Incorporated, because I don't know how to say in Candy Crush in general. Otherwise, you have Candy Crush this, Candy Crush Soda, Jelly, all the Candy Crush games.
I think Microsoft is lying. I do think they want to control the competition. I do think they want to wipe out the competition. And we also have secret emails that have been leaked that shows that Microsoft does want to dominate PlayStation by buying up all these other properties and IPs and studios, and eventually just through acquisitions and through their big money, their billions of dollars, to just control the competition in the marketplace, to where Sony only has a few studios and only a few franchises to compete with.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with.
That's what Microsoft wants to do, but the point is, it's like, I mean, who cares? Because Sony is doing the same thing. Sony is in full control of the gaming market in Japan, 95%. Sony has PlayStation Plus, which is technically cloud gaming. It's not exactly cloud, but it's close to it. It's not the Xbox of gaming like Game Pass is, where Game Pass has a smorgasbord of games from studios that they don't even own. But PlayStation Plus has way more subscribers, and in 20 years, in theory, when most of us are not buying physical media and we're all buying digital, Sony could be having a huge space in cloud gaming. But Sony's already doing it. But Microsoft will control a large portion of it, and that's the debate right now.
I'm going to say this. As of right now, Sony is investing into its own cloud gaming services. How far they've gone, I don't know. And when it comes to businesses, especially Japanese businesses, that's a very
Yeah.
Now, I do want to mention this. I disagree with Brian on this subject because of two things. Call of Duty has been, how do we say, maintained behind a certain amount of closed doors. As to what those loopholes are, they get a little convoluted, a little numerous if you think of it. Currently, Call of Duty titles, past to present, are available on the PlayStation Store.
Mm-hmm.
I believe there is a current agreement where all Call of Duty games are not to be on the Xbox for a certain amount of time. I will digress. If
the deal goes through, they could come back to Sony and give them a 10-year deal.
Now, there is
the fact that they're willing to put Call of Duty on Nintendo, which is the number one console sales gaming company in the world, should be enough to convince the judge to say, well, hey, they're willing to play ball for at least 10 years.
See, I believe there's more to it than just looking at it from that type of mindset per view of things. Because if you put Call of Duty, a well-beloved, known, renowned franchise.
Massive franchise, yeah.
Because you can't call it anything else. It is a franchise. Yeah. It's bigger than fucking Disney.
Yeah, so, well, I mean...
Technically, it is. It's in total of its entirety, it's made more money than Disney up to this point.
No, well, it's sold 425 million copies. Disney, I mean...
Their current stock value is around 88 million, I believe.
Disney was bigger 5 years ago before everything was going on. But yeah, Call of Duty and Activision are numero uno
Now, I want to
in terms
mention
of sales and money being made,
Yes.
monetization.
So when it comes to, well, they just want to keep Call of Duty away from everybody else. It's rather redundant because now you're just nitpicking at one specific thing. You're throwing a whole case of eggs at the one spot of the wall when there's over 100, over
Yeah.
80, over 80, 100 something IPs that is in the catalog that is Activision itself.
And if somebody can tell the judge that, look, what Microsoft is being accused of doing, which is what they're doing, Sony is already doing it. So if you're going to rule and stop this acquisition from happening,
You would have to rule
then you
against
would
Sony.
also have to do it against Sony. But I think the reason why this has gotten so big and out of hand is because of how expensive and how worldwide gaming is. Because when Disney bought Fox, no one objected at all.
Everyone was like, yeah, let it pass.
Because Fox had IPs that were not doing as well as Call of Duty on paper. I mean,
Well,
let's face
technically,
it.
no,
The X-Men,
the only IP that Fox ever had that was profitable. Let's be honest.
was the X-Men.
That was
But
it.
what I'm saying is that by 2017, those movies were not hugely profitable. The only successes they had were Deadpool, and they're not super expensive movies to be made because of their R rating. Meanwhile, Disney and Marvel has mostly everything and had a lot of power and influence with movie theaters for their big major releases. But I mean, Fox did not have a property that was bringing in the type of money on so many platforms like Call of Duty. So
No.
that's why this is why it's gotten so much backlash, because when Microsoft bought Bethesda, it wasn't a big deal. They bought Bethesda for $7.1 billion. It went through without a hitch. There was no hiccups. And then the following year, they said they were going to buy Activision Blizzard. That was a big hiccup because, again, Call of Duty. That's the main hiccup.
That's it. Now, if you really want to look at it from a more productive
Because Sony
perspective,
bought Bungie, but Destiny isn't as big as Call of Duty.
well, then
But Destiny is successful enough. But
That's-
nobody cared that they bought Bungie for $4.4 billion.
well, in a manner of speech, the reason why Sony bought Bungie was because they're aiming to make more monetizable games.
That's what Jim Ryan's trying to do.
Jim Ryan is trying to make a library of live service
And that's
games.
his job. I mean, people can hate on Jim Ryan all they want, but he doesn't play video games. He doesn't care. He just wants to make a lot of money. And monetization and microtransactions is the way to do that. And since they bought Bungie in the last year, Destiny 2's microtransactions has become pure fucking hell for everybody. But it's super successful. The sales are great. The money is big, and they're making more and more in profit. But it's gotten out of control because of Jim Ryan. And that's why The Last of Us multiplayer has been put on the back burner, because they got Bungie to look at the game, and Bungie's like, people are not going to be playing this over the long haul, which means you're not going to be making billions and billions of dollars for years and years on this multiplayer, especially since this multiplayer has a single player component that has a beginning, middle, and end for the most part.
Now, I want to mention that
It's just like,
when it comes,
and that's why they're putting it on the back burner.
when it comes to Last of Us multiplayer, a lot of people are very excited, want to play, want to have it, want to get their hands on it. Realistically, that's not coming out anytime soon.
No.
That's probably coming out next console.
The fact that they went to Bungie and asked them for their input, and Bungie even pointed out that there's no way you're going to be making as much money as what Destiny 2 is. Destiny 2 has made so much money in terms of PvE, and it's a PvE-focused game. And a lot of people want them to focus on the PvP, but they're not, because it's a PvE-focused game. But the PvP and the PvE is making a shit ton of money for Bungie because of the microtransactions and monetization. And Bungie, who are now the experts on this, apparently with Sony, are saying that The Last of Us multiplayer is not going to be that. And this is coming from a studio that is making billions of dollars every month for Sony right now with microtransactions.
I want to mention this. Bungie is well-rooted as a company known being able to make games people will return to.
Yeah,
Look at their past.
because they're fun. They focus on making them fun.
Yes. Look at Halo.
They're ripping your money away from you, but it's fun.
That's, Halo doesn't have. Well, Halo now has that, but Halo prior to microtransactions made by Bungie.
Yeah, but 343 doesn't know how to make a game that's fun.
343 doesn't even know how to.
They don't know how to make a game that's
I
fun.
guarantee you, they don't even know how to crack an egg.
Because the problem with 343, they focus on the money instead of the fun. While Bungie it's microtransactions is getting to the point where they are no different from their previous owner, Activision. The fact is that they do focus on making the game fun to make you want to spend
Money.
on that game. Fortnite does the same thing. Fortnite is exactly that.
The only difference with Fortnite is that you
And their
feel
Forge-
a little more compelled in getting a
Yeah,
significant
and their
skin.
Forge is better than the Forge in Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite's Forge is boring as shit, and Halo Infinite's Forge is only great when you're playing with your friends, but none of your friends are playing Halo Infinite right now, so the Forge is boring as shit. Meanwhile, basically what they have, the equivalent of Forge in Fortnite, is way more fun, and some of those games are getting about 7,000 to 8,000 players a day on their games.
What is that game
while Halo Infinite on Steam is not even getting 3,000 players.
See, now I want to mention this. We're going to move away from the Halo aspect of it. When it comes to Microsoft, management-wise, they have restructured things around, so they claim it. So Matt Booty says, so Phil Spencer states. I'm hoping this is true. And one of the things that I'm a little optimistic about is that should Microsoft be able to acquire Activision Blizzard King, or ABK, is the revival of a number of franchises and IPs that are in that graveyard. Let's not compare it to EA, which has maybe 3 or 4 times more than what Activision has in their own graveyard.
Well, 343.
No, I'm talking about Activision.
Yeah, I know Activision,
EA.
but I was just thinking of another funny thing here, and people
What is
bring
that?
this up where the one game where they focus on the fun aspect and then make money off of people coming back to play it over and over again is the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
But that game took like 5 years for it to start working. When it first came out, you couldn't play the game at all.
Now, mind
It
you,
was broken. And
you-
it didn't start working until 2019. So Halo Infinite, which has people not coming back at all, that game's probably not going to be great until 2 years from now.
mind you, I want to say this.
It's too late.
The Master Chief Collection is just a collection of games that were made by another studio with more experience and understanding, and our people who play games was made by them, and it was just given to them to say, hey, look, it's a collection. This is what we did. No, you
Right,
didn't
but
do anything.
343 has added stuff recently that make the whole collection really, really awesome. They
I
add
want
additional
to
stuff.
say this because Bungie made a point, and it is a very solid point. Why on earth are you going to add a bunch of nonsense to a whole war game? Technically, what it is a PvP shooter game. Why would you add a bunch of nonsense to it, like samurai swords you don't even use on a character, when the whole purpose is to shoot people?
Although it'd be cool to use a samurai sword.
I would love to use my Hayabusa sword. I would. I have that unlocked since the original Halo. Though.
And now you know, Chapter 4, Season 4 of Halo Infinite is basically the best season. But because people are so jaded and disappointed with the whole thing, I mean, it's like people are not coming back.
Supposedly there are rumors that they're working on the next Halo installment,
And they're going to use Unreal Engine 5. So.
Which would be a great thing in many ways because it's much easier to work with than Slipstream, which is
Slipstream's just
outdated
broken.
thing.
It's been broken for a while.
Think using.
I mean, they should have never done a live service game on that engine. That's why it's been so broken. They should have they should have focused time on releasing the game with all the content like they did with Halo 5 and just put in all the game modes and everything on one release.
Halo 5, I was jaded with the multiplayer aspect of it. Anyways, we're going off topic.
Yeah.
The next thing we want to discuss, or that we're going to bring up, is Starfield. What are our thoughts on Starfield? What we think
I think we
about
already
it?
talked about that last week.
Did we?
Yeah, we did. The next topic.
My apologies.
Yeah,
I
we
have
talked
that
about that
wrong.
last week.
I have that in the wrong area. The next topic is the Indiana Jones exclusivity,
Okay.
which was something that was revealed or came out during the court trial.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
what we're
ongoing.
talking about. It's the trial. What else do you think about what came out besides the Indiana Jones one?
Oh, the fact that what's his name? Jim Ryan. The fact that Jim Ryan did not show up in person, that's an audacious move. It's very disrespectful.
It's
If you're-
interesting. I thought that was an interesting move.
It's a coward's move. He just recorded himself answering a few questions. The reason why he was not there is because he can't be cross-examined. So this now puts the burden of proof on the FTC, meaning the FTC now has to work thrice as hard, whatever you want to use, to prove
And
their
it's almost
case.
like Jim Ryan has given up.
Yes, and it's
Like
also,
if the judge, he could kind of get the feeling that the judge, because if Microsoft has to tell the judge that what they're accusing us, Sony has been doing for Call of Duty for 5 years. There are certain things you get with Modern Warfare 2 if you buy it for the PS5 that you will never get for the Series X.
It's not just Modern Warfare 2.
That you will never get for Xbox.
It's not just Modern Warfare 2. It's Modern Warfare. It's with PS4 games. What is it? Infinite Warfare, Advanced Warfare, and all that other stuff.
Even Warzone.
Even Warzone. Now, mind you, another thing that came out was an email between Jim Ryan and the former CEO of Sony PlayStation. I forgot his name. A much more beloved individual who believed on the accessibility of all types of genres, not just story-focused cinematic type games. And I'm looking at every remake Sony's coming out with from last 20.
That's what they should
years.
focus on.
No,
That's Sony's strength. That's what they should focus on. Instead of doing what they want to do with Bungie with the monetization and microtransactions, they should just tell Naughty Dog, just keep making single player games.
I'm in agreement with that.
Why make The Last of Us multiplayer? I want to play The Last of Us Part 3. I want to continue on the story with Abby and Ellie, Dina, and Abby's friend. I want to continue on with that story. I want to see Last of Us Part 3. I want to see the next single player game. I don't want to see a really Last of Us multiplayer game that's going to be free to play. I'm sure the single player aspect will be fun, but it's going to have a shit ton of microtransactions where I have to buy this gun, this armor set, and this everything to basically be a Terminator, killing fucking people in an open world multiplayer game. And my bank account is not going to handle it.
It's basically Destiny is what they're trying to copy.
Yeah.
They're trying to make Destiny version of Last of Us. It's not going to work. There's no vision for that reason.
And really, the whole factions being its own game should have just been a multiplayer game mode for The Last of Us Part 2. They should have just focused on that instead of just trying to make it so big. They wouldn't even be in this mess at all.
Yeah.
I mean, if they just put it into the game and just start off with like a couple of maps and it's just a part of the game, I mean, it would have been fucking killer. It could have been killer.
Now, I want to mention that what came out was a communication between Jim Ryan, current CEO, and former CEO of Sony PlayStation. I forget names, and I don't want to do that.
You mean the other guy that was in charge before Jim Ryan came in 2019?
Yes, well, the guy had, if you like JRPGs
for the American
genre,
the American edition, yeah.
Yes, where that guy was more like where he had, every studio was able to work on their own.
Well,
project.
he played video games, and he liked having video games that appealed to Japanese. But the problem is, Sony in Japan, they didn't like the fact that their games were not doing as well in America. So they got Jim Ryan to focus on Western games.
Are Western games doing well in Japan? I don't know about that. I'll have to ask some friends that I have in Japan.
Right, but Sony realized that where the big money is at is making Western games for a Western audience and Western civilization, and to make more money for their bank account while they focus on their own thing in Japan.
Well,
Sony Japan does their own thing.
No, because Sony Japan doesn't really exist anymore in the sense that
but the executives,
Sony Japan Studio, Sony Studio.
But the executives who are in charge of Sony in Japan are still doing their own thing.
Yeah,
and with Square Enix and other studios as well.
Mind you,
they got Jim Ryan to focus on North America and the UK.
Well, I want to say this. There was a communication between Jim Ryan and the former CEO where he stated in the communication with that former CEO that, if Microsoft gets ABK, if that goes through whatever, Sony PlayStation will be fine. So for the oh no, it's the end of the world for PlayStation, it does not exist. Even Jim Ryan said we'll be okay. They have their plans. It's long term. It's bigger, but they have the money to do that. We have what we can do. We'll be fine. We'll most likely we'll be more than fine. Is what he said and I want to paraphrase that. I'll paraphrase. He said that himself. PlayStation is not going to dissolve. It's not going to get shut down. They're not going to crash and burn because they lost Activision. Microsoft stated Activision will be available on all consoles. So from that point on.
But the emails also showed that Microsoft wants to also dominate the markets that Sony dominates in. They do want to control what Sony has.
Oh, if you're talking about the 2019 emails, that was from...
No, that's the recent emails. That's from last year. Yeah.
Well, let's be realistic. There's no way you can dominate a market if you do not have the appeal of that said market. Yeah. The thing with the Japanese market, yes. And that's the great thing about capitalism. Not corporatism. We'll not go there. The thing about
Japan...
It's
a worldwide corporate capitalist competition thing we're going on, yeah.
Yes. So the great thing about Japan is that their interest in when it comes to digital media or entertainment, physical entertainment, because they're great on they're a big thing on having the stuff, having it there to use. Not much like us Westerners where, it's on sale for $20 digitally. I'll buy that rather than spend $30 on a physical copy. That's at GameStop, Best Buy, Target, whatever. Anyways, the thing with Microsoft is that if they want to appeal to the Japanese market to get any ground there, any ground whatsoever, they need to come up with the ability to provide Japanese media without Western influence, without any form of, artistic censorship, because it's mostly corporate censorship, for the abdication of a small group of people who will approve or not approve. Twitter is not the real world. Let's get that fact. Let's get that straight. Now, if Microsoft wants to appeal to Japan, here's what they need to do. Fun game development from Japan. How do you fund a game? You provide that income. You provide the money. Look at Bethesda. I feel that Hi-Fi Rush is a game that I believe
Not a Bethesda game, but yeah.
Well, it says Bethesda on it.
But that was the other thing that Microsoft has to also talk about in the trial too. That's going to be brought up too, is the fact that they're focusing so much on Game Pass that game sales on the games are not doing that well. So will Activision and Blizzard's long-term exclusivity with Microsoft actually be a good thing if they're not really bringing in any revenue in terms of sales?
Well, they're bringing
because everything is going to Game Pass.
No,
because Hi-Fi was a sales disappointment, even though everybody loved playing the game. It was on Game Pass. Microsoft is so focused on getting subscribers for Game Pass that the sales is not really doing much of anything.
See,
there's no movement there.
What was I talking about? I was talking about Microsoft's ability to access the Japanese market. They need to fund Japanese developers to put their games
have
onto Game Pass.
They have like 5 or 6 of them.
No, they need to fund more. They
need more.
They need more, but they, instead of being
they don't have the big hitters. The big hitter. They don't have the one big hitter, which is Square Enix. But they have 5 other studios.
They have 5 other studios, but they need to increase that, and they need to be able to provide the funding to those studios, because the market in Japan is very, very cutthroat. That's really what it is. However, if they can fund those,
and Sony controls 95% of it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: the Japanese market is not really happy with Sony in the position right now, because
they're so focused on Western games.
They're so focused on Western
that's
games.
where the money is at.
Japanese gamers are not fond of
and Jim Ryan is not even happy about
whoever.
that. That's the thing. And Jim Ryan is not even happy about the fact that Sony is, in the last 3 years, has been hugely successful in Western civilization in terms of game sales. He doesn't like the fact that their most popular games only selling 30 million copies and not bringing anything else in beyond that. So he's not even happy about that. It's like you just made like almost $1 billion in terms of sales, but you want to make billions of dollars every month in terms of microtransactions.
Well, he is a former EA suit.
Yeah, that's his mentality.
That's
it's just
the
money.
problem. That's the problem. That's where you have the issue.
It's just money.
It's his mindset is convolutedly twisted and focused on the dollar.
Yeah.
The
monetization.
The monetization of being able to make in that big number of games every single release, no matter what game it is.
Yeah, that's why he got Bungie. And Bungie has made a killing for them in the last year. Like Destiny 2, Bungie is at the highest it's been. But it's turned into microtransactions hell. So they used to give you like bundle packs for like $10 where it involves like dungeon exploration. Instead, Bungie takes away the dungeon exploration, sells you the same pack. Instead of the price going down, they raise the price with no dungeon exploration. And now that they raise the price by $2 or $3, you actually have to spend $15 to get the same thing.
See, this is why I stopped playing the Division 2. The Division 2 became very repetitive. It became almost as if it was my job, and I wasn't getting paid for it. So I said, screw this shit, I'm out.
One thing I wanted to mention, though, before we move on to the next topic, speaking of the Division, what's the Ubisoft studio that's making Avatar? It's called Division.
Montreal?
Not Montreal. It's Division, I think. Ubisoft Division. They make the Division games, but it's Ubisoft Massive. That's
Massive.
Ubisoft Massive. They also make the Division games, too, right? They make something Division.
I believe so. Hold on, let me double check.
I just realized that at the Avatar game, World of Pandora. What's their games?
Where is it? Malmo, Sweden. All right, Sweden. And
go up top.
Right here.
Well, go up. Look at the games. Go up. Yeah, the Division. Yeah. Okay. So Massive Entertainment does the Division 2. What I find so funny is that Ubisoft Massive is coming out with an Avatar game this December. And you know its only competition is? The Aquaman movie. So what I find hilarious is that Avatar could, in theory, dominate the holiday season, not in the movie theaters, but on the video game market. But what I find potentially hilarious is the video game making more money in sales at the box office than Aquaman 2.
Oh, wait, Aquaman
in December.
And
I think Aquaman 2 is going to flop because Warner Bros. Is basically, with their actions, have said that Aquaman 2 is going to be a terrible movie, and Amber Heard, all that controversy of her being so abusive and crazy and terrible, has hurt any potential that movie had. Just like Ezra Miller's personal problems has fucked up The Flash at the box office, and that movie is flopping at the box office.
Well, here's
big time.
Here's the issue.
And so Avatar could dominate the holiday season again, and the movies Avatar 3 has been delayed into December 2025.
Well, there's
Avatar
there's reason
4
for that. We'll get to
Avatar
that
4 has been delayed in December 2029, and Avatar 5 has been delayed in December of 2031. And I'm not surprised, and I'm happy with the delay because James Cameron is a perfectionist. He needs to take his time with these movies, and he wants to perfect the visuals and everything to make it look incredible.
See, moving away from Avatar.
But I'm going to laugh. I'm going to laugh so hard if Avatar
Ezra Miller is the whole shebang of the why that movie flopped.
Yeah.
Amber Heard is the reason why Aquaman 2 will flop.
And the other reason why these movies are going to flop is because James Gunn said they don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
The DC Extended Universe is over. We're moving on to the DCU. So now that people know that this interconnected stuff and all this is pointless because the movies are meaningless, why go watch them in the theater?
It's not only that.
Shazam 2 flopped badly. The Flash is flopping. Aquaman is flopping. I mean,
see, I'm gonna
and no one cares about what's the other one coming out in August? Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle.
I don't give a shit about that movie.
Supposedly, it's
I might still
James
see it,
Gunn's universe. Supposedly,
no, it's not.
It's not?
The director's lying. He's trying to say that so the movie can make money.
no.
It's not a part of James Gunn's plan at all.
See, my issue in watching that trailer, and
I like the actor.
we've strayed completely off topic.
I like the actor.
However, my
love
problem with
Cobra
that
Kai.
movie is that they had George Lopez call Batman a fascist. And I'm thinking, the fuck?
That was no. Well, it's true.
So
No, I
George-
mean from a perspective, it's true. He is a fascist.
from a perspective.
Yeah.
Well, if you know.
So that was cool. But no one cares. It's like if you're mentioning Batman, there's no Batman. Who cares?
Anyways,
And not even and Batman.
No.
No, but I just want to say Batman is Warner Brothers' biggest draw, and they had 2 Batmen in the Flash, and still nobody went to see the movie. So,
Anyways, moving on. We're getting back on topic.
Final Fantasy 16.
No. We're talking about the Indiana Jones exclusive game.
Yes, it's exclusive. Why is this a big deal?
So apparently this was brought up in the FTC court trial with Microsoft, with Xbox, Activision Blizzard, Xbox ABK. We'll refer to it as that from now on. So Xbox ABK, this came up. FTC, the FTC lawyers. Excuse me, I don't want to name anyone individual. They were asking the individual in charge of that area, and I'm trying to remember his name, and I won't remember it, and it's because I'm having issues with my mind right now. Was this supposed to be a multiplayer game? He said yes. Is Disney aware of any changes that may have caused an issue? They said yes. That individual said that Bethesda had renegotiated the terms with Disney. Disney's fine with it, apparently. Disney's fine with it. And he said it's much easier to work on one box with one particular overall project that can be played on a box and on your computer. And I will agree to that extent, because if you're working on something and there's 2 different versions, it makes it a lot harder.
That's the other thing too about this. It's like we're talking about Xbox exclusivity. In all these filings and all these conversations, nobody wants to consider PC a platform. PC is not a console, but it is a platform.
I want to say that
all these games are readily available to you if you have a PC. So this whole argument that
PC is not a console is such a stupid,
no,
absurd
well, I
notion.
mean, it's just like because
No,
that's
it's an absurd notion.
because that's
Listen,
where,
you make a game. How do you make a game? You make it on a PC.
but that's where this all issue is about them being exclusive. But they're technically not completely exclusive because Microsoft is putting these games on PC. So that's the other thing.
Then on top of it, you have access to it on your mobile.
And there are more PC players than there are console players at this point now.
It's not only that.
PCs
are much easier to upgrade.
So the arguments that they're using, it's just like, I mean, Microsoft is basically saying, look, there are more PCs in people's homes than Xboxes. So if you don't have a PS5 or an Xbox, you can still play these games. They're not
on your PC.
They're not just exclusive to Xbox Series X and S.
Or one or
yes,
whatever.
well, that everybody's switching over to the current. That's now last gen. Right now, current gen is Series X, PS5. Everybody's But we're out of COVID.
I'm hoping.
We're out of COVID. PS5s are really available. I went to GameStop today to pick up my Final Fantasy 16. I saw 5 PS5s on the shelf, and I saw nothing but Series X's and tons of Switches. So we are officially out of COVID. All the production problems are done. Scalpers are broke. They have no money coming in. So
Yay!
yeah. That's the world's,
Everyone, round of applause.
that's the world's smallest violin for those fuckheads. For those absolute jackasses. This is the world's smallest violin
Fucking
for the fucking scalpers. But yeah, we're out of COVID now. It's over.
And they can't even sell it. It's cheaper to get it from a retailer.
No,
than
really, and the FBI and the CIA went through all that trouble for basically nothing, but that guy's going to jail. When they raided that guy's house in like Las Vegas and Nevada, he had like hundreds of PS5s, and they fucking raided his house. The FBI was there, a who's who of government officials. Like,
listen.
And that was on the taxpayer dime too.
Listen, this is
like
not
a waste
victory.
of our money.
This is not a victory for us consumers. This is a defeat for us. This is our loss that is made to sugarcoat and look like a pretty picture.
But it was
that
so
we
funny.
won. But
It
it's
was so
funny.
funny.
It's funny when a fucking scalper gets hit by a fucking FBI.
Yeah, I know. It was like 100 of those guys that showed up to the guy's house.
Shit, I'm sure he was probably. What the fuck?
I was like, they might as well. It was like they got Jack Bauer on this shit too. It was like an episode of 24. You know what I'm saying? Like
I was gonna say more like Jack Reacher.
Like they're gonna connect this scalper to like president assassination.
Hey, it's a possibility. You never
so-
know. You never know. It was probably his next plan.
The whole story behind it was hysterical. It was great.
Scalper, in today's breaking news, Scalper has been hit with an FBI search warrant. Over 12,000 FBI agents showed up at his front door knocking while he was dressed in his own underwear.
You got the nuclear launch codes and everything. Like, what the fuck?
You've got a fucking FBI
all
tactical
through
squad.
eBay. And you know what? I was almost tempted to buy the PS5 off of the scalper on eBay because this guy, but it was like one scalper who was like really, really nice. He was selling his PS5 for like $400. And from what and the guy got like 5 stars. He was the only scalper that got like 5-star ratings because he was selling his PS5s for like 400 or less.
Well, I mean,
and they were really good PS5s. They were really good. You know?
See, this is an issue. Is that
really nice guy? Thanks for the service. You know,
you're a scalper.
Whoever you are, you did a good service.
As a scalper, I truly, what is the word? Not applaud.
Hope you get a real job.
No, not adore.
Hope you get a real job someday because you did a good service.
Yes, I plead you find yourself a true profession, not scalping.
Yeah, realize the money you made in 2021 was not going to last forever.
Now, when it comes to scalping in general, fuck those guys. They can die from line of fire, firing squad.
Especially the jackass that's on there for the $1,200. Stupid.
Oh, I'm glad they're at the point where like I can't get rid of it. I have no space in my garage for my fucking Toyota Corolla, whatever it is. Toyota Corolla? Yeah, Toyota Corolla. Anyways,
okay.
Fucking gotta live that life, make a lot of money, live on the fucking cheap ride.
Yeah, and I will say though, are we going to talk about Final Fantasy 16 now? Since we're kind of off of Bethesda?
No. We kind of strayed away from Indiana Jones, but we did speak about Indiana Jones being brought up. Was mentioned. So Indiana Jones is certified A, guaranteed that it is a Xbox exclusive, and I don't want to say.
Oh,
Xbox
and the other thing
console.
that doesn't help out Microsoft's case is that they did cancel Redfall and Starfield to be on the PS5. Because remember, I don't care what Todd Howard says. When Starfield was first announced, he specifically said in 2018 it was going to be on all consoles for next gen, all consoles. But as soon as they sold to Microsoft, the PS5 version was canceled, and Redfall was definitely canceled for the PS5.
No.
That doesn't help Microsoft.
I'm going to say it should because they save PS5 owners from having a bugged out mess.
Well, that's beside the point, though. That's beside the point.
Studio.
That's beside the point because those actions does prove Sony's point that eventually Call of Duty will only be on Microsoft and Xbox. And Call of Duty will only exclusively be with Microsoft at a time where it will be at the most pivotal moment in Microsoft history, because by 2035, Microsoft will control all of cloud gaming. And so if it owns Call of Duty, then everybody is only going to go to Microsoft. And that's in 12 years.
I don't believe that will be true. However,
that depends on the judge.
This is a topic that we are going to end off here because
that depends.
We're speculating.
I will want to say though, we are speculating, but that's also the thing with the judge. Does he want to rule based on a speculation of 12 years from now, or does he want to rule based on the actions of today? And that's in the end what's going on right now is all he has to go back on. He can't go by hypothetical.
No,
2035.
What we're doing,
we could all be fucking dead.
See, what we're doing is we're speculating.
But we can do that.
Everything that you said, everything that you and I have said, are speculation.
But we can do that.
What ifs?
But we could do that. The judge actually can't.
Judge can't do that. We can
Judge actually
speculate.
can't.
We can choose to be Sony fanboys or Xbox warriors or whatever you call them. I don't. My head hurts from all these terms. I really don't give a squat about these terms. Now,
Okay, let's move on.
the next thing we're going to be talking about is the Lies of P.
Okay, want me to talk about it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. I haven't played Bloodborne yet, so I don't. I can't make that comparison. But I have seen people play Bloodborne, and it's basically like a Bloodborne-esque game, but it's about the story of Pinocchio being set in the Victoria era, like London setting of the 1800s of like the Queen Victoria era.
I would have.
And it's a very.
I would be honest. I would have preferred if they were a little bit more faithful and followed a more Italian setting.
But I do love the Queen Victoria setting, the Queen Victoria fashion, the Queen Victoria look, and it's a very tough game. It's a very competitive game. It's a Soulsborne game, but it's a lot of fun. It's tough, but it's not too tough. You could level up your character, and you could make yourself overpowered based on the gameplay mechanics of how to not deflect, but how to break. There's a lot of Sekiro in the sense that you could break your opponent's posture gauge, and Bloodborne as well, and you could do like a real like critical hit on your opponent that will take so much damage from like mini bosses and the main boss that you're fighting in the game, and it's a lot of fun. There's Jiminy Cricket who helps you on your journey. There's this beautiful chick who's a waifu in this hotel. It's basically like the Round Table Hole, but it's a nice hotel called Krat Hotel. And this chick is gorgeous, and she's helping you level up and everything. And you're a part of this whole story. And she thinks, well, it's all about dolls too. But there's like a doll frenzy that kills everybody.
No. Doll from Bloodborne. Oh, you haven't played Bloodborne. Never mind.
No. She's like the chick in Dark Souls 3. That's what she looks like.
No,
except her face isn't covered up.
In Bloodborne, the girl that helps level you up and get you stronger, her name is Doll. She's a doll.
Yeah, but that's not the character's name. That's not the character. But that's not what she looks like. She looks more like the female character in that helps you out in Dark Souls 3.
Oh.
But I do love the look of it, and she's helping you out on this journey. It's very cryptic, and you have to talk to people. You have to read all the documents and everything to get the history of Krat. The Krat Hotel apparently is like a tourist attraction, and there's been like a lot of mysterious deaths and a lot of spooky stuff, and that's what makes it such a popular hotel. People want to go there to experience they want to experience the really scary stuff about the hotel. But this is before the puppet frenzy, and there's like this puppet frenzy that gets a lot of innocent people killed, and a lot of humans get killed from these crazy puppets that have lost their minds, and you are smack dab in the middle of all this.
Reminds me of the Psycho.
It's like a Soulsborne game where you're smack dab in the middle of something terrible. You're something terrible that happened. So you are in the aftermath. Something terrible happened. There was a puppet frenzy. Lots of people got killed, and you're being woken up, and you have to deal with this, and you're on this journey to somehow fix the problem. So it's basically a Souls game. It's a Soulsborne game where you are showing up after the main story happened, and you are kind of picking up the pieces. It's not like Sekiro, where Sekiro, you are there when the story is starting, and you are directly involved in the story, and you are contributing to the story progressing. It's not like Elden Ring and other Souls games. What was like Elden Ring, what makes it so great is that the main story and everything actually happened, and you are Tarnished, who was there after everything happened to somehow fix a world or save a world that's probably never really going to be saved. But you are there in the aftermath. But yeah, and that's what I love about Lies of P. You are smack dab in the middle. There's this beautiful chick who's basically a waifu who's trying to help you out, and is basically saying in the beginning, you are a very special boy, you're a very special puppet.
Oh,
and we need you to help out. We need you on this journey.
The fairy from the animated Disney movie where the fairy turns into a real boy. More or less, she's based off on that. Okay. Now,
not really. She's not like that, but it's close to that.
No, but that's what I'm saying. She's based close enough. Anyways, I have yet to play Lies of P.
You need to.
I've been more or less occupied and focused on other things. Final Fantasy 16,
it's not
Diablo 4, Street Fighter 6, and I believe there was another game on the Xbox. I started playing Hi-Fi Rush. I went to go revisit Fable because they have a new Fable game coming out, and it's not looking like it's my cup of tea.
I don't understand Western civilization's obsession to make female characters look ugly. You know what? We did not talk about that Fable trailer. We should talk about that. I don't know why they made her look ugly. I just don't get it. And the actual woman who modeled for that character is so beautiful in real life.
She's better looking than the model and the character model in the fucking trailer. Think of it like this.
I know it's weird. I don't know why they're doing it.
They used her to look. They used her appearance to make the character.
And I know why they're doing this.
And then it looks like they added somebody else's face. And
I know why they're doing this. I know why they're doing this because of those fucking losers that are obsessed with masturbating to female characters in video games. And that's why they're doing this. But you shouldn't give those losers on Twitter any power. Just make the women look great or look normal. Don't make them look overly ugly for no fucking reason because you don't like these jackasses on Twitter. Don't focus on the jackasses. Just, I mean, at least make the character look as good as the model in real life.
See,
She's beautiful.
Here's my
She's
issue.
beautiful. And then look at the fucking character. What is going on?
Here's my issue, is that they have decided to listen to a very select few. We'll put it nicely, because I can be very poetic with my words, and I'd rather not be dark and cryptic in the manner of
Dudes that love jerking off to underage characters in anime.
Well,
It's very disturbing. And
no,
okay,
no, I'm talking about them. There's an issue.
but they're not the majority.
They're not the majority. People who find the appeal of cute, beautiful, attractive young characters or characters in general are not your enemies. Your enemies are the people telling you they gotta look like a man and be a woman at the same time, and they gotta do this, and they gotta have the ability to fly, and they gotta be a rainbow, they gotta be a unicorn who can dig tunnels. No, that's not your audience. That's a group of people who are telling you how to sync your product. You want to make money. You're a company. You're a company with over 100 employees. Your objective at this point as a company, as senior leadership, as the individual in charge of the company, is to make money, to pay your employees' wages, to pay in order to have the lights on, to pay for any other freaking cost, the lights, the internet, the fact that you're using the electricity for the phone and the internet, the computers, and all that stuff.
And you don't get any sense that it's a Fable game. What is Fable about? It's a high magic fantasy RPG that you have to choose between being good and evil. And what I love about playing the first Fable game is that the more evil shit I did, the more evil I became. When I was killing innocent civilians in that game, I started looking like a demon. I started looking like Satan. I had horns coming out. My eyes were all bulgy and everything. And I was becoming more and more evil. It was awesome. Like, it was great. And that is Fable. That is what Fable's supposed to be about. We don't see nothing like that in these cinematic trailers that show you nothing.
All we see is, I guess it's a giant. I will go into the premise that it's a giant doing an interview with someone that is apparently able to interview a giant.
He's doing what we're doing. That's all he was doing. He wasn't even doing an interview. He had a camera up and he's talking to it like what we're doing. So and then it turns out that the ugly chick is a midget. And apparently she's dealing with giants. I'm like, this could be any fantasy. It could have been anything.
So I want to say...
And what was crazy is that Microsoft said we're not going to do cinematic trailers. And they did 3 cinematic trailers in a row.
That's the disappointing part, you know. It's okay. If the studio is taking the time they need to make this game, and hopefully they add player customization, because this character model is not something I'd play with. Not because it's a woman, but because it's just a little unnerving to look at. It's a little unnerving to look at. And if anyone has a problem with that, have a problem with it. I don't care. I live in your mind. Apparently, I'm rent-free. I just rent and exist in your head. Listen to the voice. Listen to my voice in your head. Anyways, I believe Fable, I mean, hopefully it's able to recover. They fix whatever nonsensical thing they did with that character model. Because I'm at this point where I'm not even sure whether to look at it, watch it, play it, or even touch it. It doesn't look like a Fable game. It looks more like, hey, this is a game where you play in your backyard pretending you're chasing giants on the beanstalk, and you got to go fight him while he's doing it. He's doing a self-recording session with the camera. That's kind of what I get from it. That's what I get from it, and I don't like it because it feels not Fable. It doesn't feel like a Fable game.
Yeah, it looks bad. It looks really bad.
You've got a guy who tries to sit in the middle, tends to move way too fast on either side, and then you got a guy who's a leftist. He is your type. He's the people. He's part of the individuals with a reasonable mind.
And we don't like it. I mean, most of us don't even like it. It looks terrible. It's trash. At least leftists actually play video games for not people who only like the message but actually don't, and like the message and like the ideology but are not going to play the game, who are not into playing games because most of them are just too cool to be playing games.
And on top of that,
honestly,
these are the people who,
and I know that some of them are my friends and they're not interested. And they wouldn't even.
Let me speak.
They don't even like it anyway.
These are people who don't even touch a game. They're looking at it like,
care.
oh, that's for kids. You're a kid. You're not grown up. Oh, no. That's not your target. If that's your target audience, I hope your studio shuts down because that's not going to make a lot of money. If that studio doesn't shut down on itself, I hope Microsoft shuts it down because
Good luck.
good luck making money because I don't see the ability to profit from that. I don't. That's a damn shame. Fable's such a wonderful series.
I hope it's good. You know,
I hope they
but it
fix.
looks bad.
I hope they fix it because that character model is
Terrible. Like unnecessary.
My 4-year-old sister could do a much better job designing a character. And one you can actually see the whole appearance side of from her little lines. You can see it. Hell, my kitten could do a better job than that. Anyways,
It was absolutely terrible. But anyways,
we're moving on because if we stay on this, I'm probably gonna walk away. Well, not walk
We're talking
away.
about Final Fantasy 16.
Yes, we were talking about Final Fantasy 16. We were talking about Final Fantasy 16. We were talking about the game that has
It's
remained.
definitely a game of the year contender. It looks great.
It's definitely a game of the year
And the
contender.
visuals are great. The gameplay. What's crazy is that the gameplay, playing the game, the cinematics, that's the gameplay. That's not the cinematics. It's the gameplay. That's how beautiful the graphics look. That's how beautiful the visuals look. Everything just looks so gorgeous. The story is pretty good. I'm enjoying the cutscenes, but I do love the gameplay. I love that the rings that you wear make the game easier. Like you can anticipate the moves of your opponent when they're about to hit you, and also how to counter as well. So it's a lot of cool stuff that's like really, really good.
I want to say this: playing the game, it feels what a Final Fantasy game would have felt like when you first picked it up. And I want to say that Final Fantasy is one of the very few franchises that has remained consistent in its game design, setting, and world building.
Yeah,
The-
and this is the best so far. This is the best Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy X so far.
What do you
And I like Final Fantasy 13, but it wasn't great. This
No,
is great.
Final
This
Fantasy
is really
13.
great.
Final Fantasy 13 was a nice break from your traditional route, though the spin-offs from 13 were too much.
There were sequels.
Sequels, excuse me.
It was
Sequels.
like Final
of
Fantasy 13 2, Final Fantasy 13 3. Like, whoa, bro, wow.
Listen, I get
That's a
it.
lot of video games.
I get it. Lightning was super hot back in the day, and you wanted to focus on her, but
Yeah.
you could have made a
And Square
something.
Enix needs to do that again. They need to have a female main character again. I really do.
I-
I would love for them to do that again because that was such a huge success with Final Fantasy 13. The sales were good and they were available, I think, on all consoles, or was it just the Xbox? It was like all
I
consoles.
believe all consoles.
But
I
it was like
believe
it was really
PS3
successful
and
for the 360 because the 360 was selling better than PlayStation 3.
Mind you,
at the time.
This was a
At the
time.
time,
This
yeah.
was a time in where a Japanese a game that was targeted to the Japanese audience did phenomenally well in the Western markets.
Yeah.
One of the few times.
And of course, Japan realized, that a lot of their video game audience and their movie going audience is very much a matriarchy. Women basically drive the box office in Japan, and so they realized that with Final Fantasy 13. They've realized that with a lot of movies that come out in Japan as well. There's a huge female audience, and when they really love a movie, they're going to go out and see it multiple times over and over and over again.
I want to mention that Final Fantasy 16.
And of course, there is a direct correlation between Godzilla movies that started flopping at the box office, as well as a female audience taking more control of the box office in Japan. The bigger the female audience, the more Godzilla movies started flopping because at the time, female audience in Japan wasn't into Godzilla movies. But by the 2010s, when Godzilla came out in 2016, women really loved the movie and its political message as well about Japan's incompetence in dealing with the tsunami, the earthquake and tsunami, and the aftermath of it all. And so that Godzilla movie 2016 was a box office smash hit. Won 7 Japanese Academy Awards, including Best Director and Best Picture.
I want to mention.
So things are changing a little bit.
I want to mention this that the shift in the Japanese movie audience
The last 20 years.
in the last 20 years being more
25, yeah.
30.
25
30,
years.
30,
25 years, specifically.
Well,
because
in-
Godzilla movies started flopping at the time.
Well, in the time
Things started changing.
in the time that the audience started shifting more towards the women, there are reasons for that. It's not just that women don't have anything to do. They work. If they have kids, they want to take their kids to see movies that are something that they'll enjoy, just as they themselves, as moviegoers, will enjoy. Now, it's not to say that it's just mothers and children. There are young women that also go to movies because they want to be entertained.
And they love anime too. They love anime. They love waifus and
Now,
all that stuff
now
too.
for
And
anyone,
overpowered male characters that every woman loves. They're into that too.
Well,
That explains Sword Art Online in a nutshell. in a million different ways.
It reminds me of
Kiritu,
Yuya.
the best gamer that every woman is in love with. It's just, that was the whole anime.
Listen,
And I thought it was amusing. I really did. I actually liked the anime.
I dislike Kirito. I dislike Kirito for a few reasons, but
I disliked how women were written around him. I didn't dislike him. I just disliked how every time a female character met him, they were instantly in love with him.
Well,
Fucking
at
nuts.
the time, the creator was trying to add other genres to the story.
Great, yeah. There's some
However,
success.
I dislike Kirito for a few reasons.
Had 4 seasons.
For a few reasons. One being well, you're a beta tester, you're cheating this. All right, we get that. We know beta testers do this no matter what. What bothers me is you're the only one capable of doing anything. He's the only one that's able to do anything. That's what bothers me. Is you have
There were very few gamers as good as him. The only one that was as good as him was his wife. Well, his future wife.
Mind you, I want to say that the story
Who they get
itself
married
was
at
was
such a young
rather
age, too. That was the
convoluted.
part. That's the other part.
The story itself was rather just conveniently written around him, not him around the world, not the world with him in it. It was more him around the world, the world around him. Excuse me. That's what bothered me. And the second thing was I understand that when you are in a position that you're about to die, your death is imminent, no matter what. That love, that relationship itself is eternal. It's a permanent thing. It is a psychologically factual thing, yes. However, I felt that the setup of that relationship itself was just too convenient. And then third thing,
No, you know what? I do think the love story was the one thing that was kind of well developed. It just like I did like that they kind of took their time with that. It felt like it happened quick, but when rewatching it, it's not too quick.
now
It was fine.
I want to say the third thing is that when Gun Gale Online was released and came out, I felt that
I haven't seen it yet.
I'd recommend watching it. A lot of people say it wasn't great. It was entertaining. It did what it was supposed to do.
Well, I want to finish. I'm done with season 2, and then I'll watch it again in season 3.
Gun Gale Online is part of season 2.
No, it takes place after season 2 and sets up for season 3.
Okay. Well, the thing with Kirito and Sinon,
We've really drifted away from Final Fantasy.
we
16.
really have. Anyway,
Yeah, the
let's-
reason why.
let's-
But the
let's
reason
get
why is
back
because
there.
we're not too far into Final Fantasy 16. We're not that far in. The beginning is great. I love what's it called? The Hideout. The Hideout is kind of like a round table. hold.
Hideout.
Hideout.
Hideaway.
The Hideaway. It's like a round table hold. That's where I'm at, and it's very beautiful. It's really nice, and yeah, it's really really cool. And
Now,
it's
I want to say this.
where you can buy shit.
Final
I have
Fantasy-
lots of money to spend.
Final Fantasy 16 is the one franchise that has remained consistent to what it is about. It is set in a world where magic and swords are the means of war. But it's not just that. You have icons, you have elemental deities, you have these figures in their belief in Final Fantasy who hold an enormous amount of magical energy, mana, as some refer to it, others refer to it as what was the name? I forget. However, the story is set wonderfully. It's something similar to a George R.R. Martin
Yeah, it is.
setting.
It's very influenced by
It has
and the writing as well.
It has a Game of Thrones vibe to it
Yeah.
as well.
It has a Game of Thrones atmosphere. It's very much influenced by George R. R. Martin's writing with A Song of Ice and Fire, where there are betrayals. There are betrayals within betrayals. A major death happens that we think is a major death, but it's probably not. We'll see what happens later on. What's up, man? It does feel like Game of Thrones, and that's what I do love about that. That's really really good.
I want to mention that the combat, I've noticed
It's
that
great.
I've noticed a lot of people are making videos where journalists are complaining, all you need to do is press one button. The reason why you can only press one, why you should press one button for you as a journalist or as somebody who likes to play easy mode on everything, it was made to give you that ability so you would shut up.
Speaking of journalists, and this isn't just journalists, I feel like the game director and the creator's excuses for not having diversity in the game has made a dent in the sales because the sales are not great. The pre-orders were not good. So I do feel that, and it's not his fault. He's just going by the knowledge that he knows based on the medieval era. There were areas of Western Europe that did not have a lot of black and brown people at all. But we are discovered with heavy amount of research and history from historians that yes, Western Europe did have a lot of diversity during the medieval times and areas. There are many areas that were very diverse. It wasn't wasn't 100% white all the time. And I feel like his excuse for that has hurt with the sales because there are a lot of gamers that chose not to buy the game for that. And when I went to buy the game,
that's such a stupid reason.
No, but,
I want to say, Western Europe,
Western
Europe, right? This is more Eastern Europe, where a lot of diversity.
No, Western
really
Europe.
present.
No,
Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe.
No, it's not Eastern Europe. It's based heavily on Western Europe.
I want to say,
so that's where
Eastern Europe because if you listen to the Royals, they have a more similarly composed Russian accent.
No, the game director specifically made it about Western Europe medieval times. So
one thing I will say, a Russian accent.
One thing I will say is that okay, fine, that's his prerogative, and the game is great. I love diversity, but if it doesn't serve the story, whatever. But I do appreciate people on the left or gamers who are leftists actually protesting through their wallet instead of bullshitting online. Like what happened with Harry Potter, where they're bullshitting online and are basically giving that game free promotion that it never would have gotten.
Well,
and that game has sold 20 million copies in less than 5 months? 4 months. It's been out. 4 months. It's been out, and that game has sold 20 million copies. So I guess I appreciate leftists actually
putting up
and not buying the game. Because when I went to GameStop to buy Final Fantasy 16 to get my copy that I pre-ordered, I paid the full $70. Apparently, they had a lot of deluxe editions left because they didn't get a lot of pre-orders, so there were a lot of deluxe editions there. So the guy asked me, do I want to spend another, an extra $20 to get the deluxe edition? And I had so many rewards with GameStop that I managed to take off $15, and then they added in another $10, which included the warranty for a year. If there's something wrong with the game, I could get a replacement, add on to the tax. So for $20, I took off $15 and added another $10, so I only spent $15 for what I should have spent $100 on. So thank you, leftists. I got to buy a deluxe edition for only $15 instead of $100.
Listen,
thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Listen,
it was great.
Here's an issue that is also a factor that a lot of people do not want to acknowledge. Times are tough. Inflation is high. Yeah. Money is not as loose and available to spend. Square Enix goes based off of pre-orders for the interest of a game, and I think that may need to adjust just enough to include total sales with pre-orders and after pre-orders when all that stuff. Because with inflation currently, a lot of people are unable to reach into their coffers, to their purses, their wallets, their bank accounts, their savings, or whatever. They don't have that money available to spend. And that is something that needs to be taken into account. Now, whether it's the leftist protests, revolts, not wanting to buy the game, whatever, it is also to take into effect that money is tight right now, and the economy is not doing well. And on top of that, not to get political, how the government right now is still printing money rather than letting what we have a value.
Well, then they're putting a lot in the economy, but it's leading to
bigger inflation.
Well, it's not just leading to inflation; it could lead to a huge economic crash because of all the money that was printed through the Federal Reserve because of COVID lockdowns to go into businesses to make sure they don't completely go under, and so banks don't go completely under. So all that printing and influx of cash, I mean, with the bills and stimulus things are being passed, the effects might not be too terrible this year. We've already seen some bad stuff.
We've seen Silicon Valley Bank.
A lot of bailouts as well.
Swiss Bank.
We've seen a lot of bailouts coming through, so it's probably not going to get too terrible.
Now, this is nothing political. However, with inflation currently, with the state of the world, some countries are recovering well, and God bless y'all for being able to recover well. He won't send my God bless you, but good.
Well,
great for them.
And it also doesn't help that Final Fantasy games have had. Final Fantasy 16 is coming off of the bad will of previous Final Fantasy games, because Final Fantasy 7 remake was
15.
No, Final Fantasy 15 I did love, but it's not even that. Last year they came out a Final Fantasy game. What was
Final
it called?
Final Fantasy 7 remake or Final Fantasy 7? What's it?
Killing Chaos, the fucking Chaos guy, the guy who was obsessed with Killing Chaos.
I don't recall.
That game was shit, and so that's the bad will. And before that, you had Final Fantasy 7 remake, which people liked, but the problem is that you just took the first 8 hours of the game and you stretched it to 30 hours.
And not only that, Final
You
Fantasy
stretched
15,
it to 35 hours, basically.
Not only that, Final
If you
Fantasy
wanted to
15
complete
was
it.
not a wholly accepted thing because
If you
it
wanted
was
to
different.
complete the part 1 of the story, that's the first 8 hours of the game. If you wanted to complete it as a remake, you're basically playing the first 8 hours in 50 hours. Like, it's ridiculous, and that was the backlash. You know,
And then on top of that, Final Fantasy 15 was a great game. It was interesting.
really good.
The story was nice.
the story was shit, but I didn't care.
The story was nice enough to the point where I could enjoy it.
When
but
I
it
got
was
to the
garbage.
ending, I was completely confused, and the story is so confusing that they released a terrible movie to get people to understand the game, and the movie was absolute dog shit.
The movie was to explain the prologue.
The movie sucked, and if you need to make a movie to explain something to people that should be in the game, then your writers completely failed, which they didn't need to do with Final Fantasy 16. See, that's the thing that makes Final Fantasy 16 so great. They made a very simplistic story that's complex but not too convoluted, and you can understand it within the first 3 hours of playing the game. The first 3 hours of the game.
2.5, 3 hours.
First 3 hours, yeah.
2.5,
You understand
3
the whole story. It's nothing confusing.
See, so it's not that it's a protest that's doing this effectively. It's the fact that money's tight. It's coming off a very bad end of.
The game's also coming out at a time where people are more educated on Western Europe in the medieval times. We have more education now. So
I wouldn't put education in as a reason, but
people are more well researched now. If this game came out 10 years ago, the sales would be through the roof.
I want to say that aside from what he's saying, it came off of a bad release. It came off of a game that people felt was a bit why. Well, they want to know why that would be done, but it was enjoyable nonetheless.
And it's $70 now. That's the thing.
And on top of it,
and the games are not necessarily getting better. I mean, Final Fantasy 16 is worth the $70, but games are now super expensive now, and most of the games are not getting better.
Isn't it 30 FPS though? I don't know why Sony. I don't know why PlayStation fanboys.
And it's
complain about that. 60 FPS. You're not going to see a 60
the games
FPS
are not
game.
getting better. The games are not. We have worse optimization because of game developers being hired with no experience, because the one with experience are getting laid off, so the CEO can get a huge paycheck. And not only that, they're forcing these deadlines where people have to crunch, and you're crunching workers that are inexperienced. And so you come out with a broken launch like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which people liked when it worked. It was a really good game. But
when it worked. Keyword, when.
The PC launch was a disaster. The Last of Us Part 1 PC launch was a disaster.
Oh.
That was the worst PC launch
Sony
Sony's
says
ever had.
they'll bring the games to the PC, and I'm thinking, this is what you're going to bring to the PC? Garbage? No, thank you.
Yeah, you need to. If you're going to do this, you got to hire the best. Don't do this ever again. Like, hire the people that did the Death Stranding 2 Director's Cut PC. Do that.
Death Stranding 2. Death Stranding, you mean?
No, Death Stranding Director's Cut.
No, but that's still first game. It's not the second.
Right, I know, but I mean, it's a different game. It's the same game, but it's different.
Anyways,
what I'm saying is that when they released Death Stranding Director's Cut on PC, it went off without a hitch. So get those people.
Anyways, for Final Fantasy 16, I believe it is a contender, and I'm in agreement with Brian J. It is a contender for game of the year. Game of the year. For
That's
awards.
the question. The big question is now: will Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom sweep all 4 of the major journalist game awards, which is the Golden Joystick Awards, the Game Awards, and GDC, and there's also a 4th one. I forgot the name of the 4th.
I forgot the 4th one. No.
Wait, let me look up what Elden Ring swept.
Joystick Game Awards. What's the name of the freaking thing? It's in my head. I can't remember
Let me look it up. I'm going to look up the Game Awards that Elden Ring swept.
Game Awards possibility. Will Final Fantasy take an award? It's a possibility. Will Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom?
Dice Awards. There it is.
Dice.
So there's Golden Joystick Awards, the Game Awards, Dice Awards, and GDC. Elden Ring was the 3rd video game to win all 4. The previous one was Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, and the previous one was Skyrim. So it's only been 3 games to do it. So if the Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, it could do it, but if it doesn't, I think if Starfield is as beloved as Tears of the Kingdom, and Final Fantasy 16 still remains beloved, which it is so far, those could be the competition. Those could be the real competition for the Game Award.
I believe that this year's lineup of games for awards.
And if Lies of P gets great reviews too, that could be a competitor too.
So you would have Final Fantasy 16, Liza P, Legend of Zelda, and Starfield. That's 4 possibilities.
Because The Witcher 3 didn't sweep all 4 because
The
Fallout 4 won Game of the Year at DICE Awards. The Witcher 3 won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. I don't know who won the Golden Joystick Award, but I know Bloodborne got something major too. So the 2015 was a very competitive year. But The Witcher 3 won the most awards that year, the most Game of the Year awards.
Now, I want to say that when it comes to Game Awards, we are looking at possibly a free-for-all for an award each, or a possibility for one game to take 2
It's going to
awards.
be a fun ceremony.
Maybe it's going to be a tie. Who knows? We can't say. We're not the individuals, nor do we know, nor are we related to the. Not that I know if he's related. However, it's hard to say who's going to win what award based on what manner.
It's a very interesting year.
It's going to be a very interesting year.
Way more interesting than last year because Elden Ring was so incredible.
Well,
It just
Elden Ring-
wiped the floor of everybody.
Well-
And we didn't have a lot of major releases in 2020
It's not only that.
after Elden Ring. And Elden Ring held the gaming world hostage for like 6 months. It had everybody in a chokehold for 6 months.
I want to
That's
say
all we were playing.
No. I want to say this: that Elden Ring was one of the games that really blew the expectations of people. It wasn't your generic. Let
It
me
was
hold
Dark
your
Souls.
hand. Let me hold your hand and tell you where to go to play this.
Yeah,
stupid
it was-
freaking open world game.
It was like Dark Souls 3, but open world. But it was also From Software's most accessible game for everybody.
On top of
Almost everybody can play the game and get good. If you're stuck on a boss, you could go all around the world and fight weaker bosses to get certain items to
to help
power up
you
your character.
overcome that challenge.
Yeah, it was just so accessible. And really, I think From Software is on their way to making a very accessible game for people with disabilities. Elden Ring was like this masterful testing site of that. And I think Spellbound could take things to another level.
Well, all
Whenever
right.
it comes out.
Whenever that comes out, I want to mention one last thing about Final Fantasy 16. The fact that it's remained seated, or the Final Fantasy in general, the fact that it's remained seated in your knights, sword-wielding magical users with magical deities, is the one franchise that has remained consistent. There is apparently talk of a
It's
Final,
had its up and downs, but yeah.
there's apparently talk about
The Chrono, the Crisis one that came out
Chrono
last year
Trigger,
was like
Chrono-
a big, that was like a miss last year.
There's apparently a Chrono. I think it's a Chrono Trigger, a remake that may be in
I heard Chrono
development.
Crisis is getting remade.
Oh,
Yeah.
Chrono Crisis. Oh, excuse me, I get the name wrong.
I used to play that game back in the 90s when we
And
had like 4
apparently,
discs. We had
apparently,
4 discs for that.
apparently, the Final Fantasy team is asking management about a Final Fantasy VI remake. Your
Well,
thoughts?
that's fine. Don't touch Final Fantasy X.
No,
Because
there's apparently a remake for 10 in the works.
that's just gonna make me so sad. Not with this current team. With this current team, they'll fuck it all up.
I
do not want this current team with the current jackasses they had at Square Enix to mess that up.
I
Just don't do it.
I don't want
Don't
them,
do it.
I don't want them to change their designs, the looks, anything of any
They're
character.
gonna no. The only great thing about Final Fantasy X remake is that they're gonna improve the graphics, but they're gonna change the combat, and they're probably gonna change something about the story and the ending that will probably ruin the story. And
10-2.
I'm not looking forward to that.
My concern is that they're gonna listen to some random moron on the internet complaining about this, that. They're gonna change a simple outfit that one female character has. They're gonna change the outfits of all the characters. They're gonna change the way that they look.
Oh, you know Japan doesn't care about that. I mean, I'm not worried about that.
Right now,
They know how to make their female characters look hot by even with more clothing. I mean,
Yes.
they just put more clothing on their characters, but they still look hot.
yes, but my concern.
All the female characters look hot in Final Fantasy 16.
No, that's true.
It's like-
That's true.
They just have more clothes on.
Benedicta looks really good.
Yeah, they just
I'm
have
not
more
gonna
clothes
lie.
on. They just look.
My concern
Liza
though,
P. Female characters look great. They just have more clothes on.
my concern though is that because the U.S. government is using trade as a leverage to have their influence,
But look,
American
I
influence on
mean,
their politics.
I
is
get
one
it.
thing.
It's not realistic for a woman to be wearing a bikini going into a war zone.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Look at wow.
It's stupid. It's stupid. I admit it's stupid, and I'm fine with that change. It's stupid. I was a kid thinking it was stupid. Like, you don't see women who are U.S. Marines going to war in their bikinis.
Well, that's an issue.
They have armor on.
not even armor. It's freaking a military uniform.
They have military
armor
uniform. They have plating.
vests.
They have armor. It's like, I mean, you don't see them walking around with their bikinis shooting, which I'm sure it's a great thought, but that's just not going to happen. You didn't have female
So-
soldiers going into Baghdad wearing just a bikini.
I'm sure that would have led to a lot more hostage captures and whatnot. And I don't even want to go there. That's a topic I want to avoid greatly because.
But it's just not realistic. So I get why women were complaining about it because it's always been stupid. For 25 years, it was stupid. I mean, I love Soul Calibur, but it was ridiculous how these women who are in combat military, who are in sword fighting, are wearing skimpy outfits and are wearing bikinis. It's not realistic. It's stupid.
I'm just gonna say this.
It's there for our entertainment.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this right now. If they remake it, just leave everything as it is.
They're not gonna do that.
Don't screw the graphics.
Not
Don't
with the
screw the designs and the current the current individual.
It's gonna change everything. It's gonna change the whole story.
Please don't change it. Please.
Hopefully, the love scene between Yuna and Titus goes on a lot longer because I do love the love scene.
Okay, now
extend that another 10 minutes.
It's come to the final conclusion.
I mean, they had their clothes on.
Hey!
But what's funny is that they were making love with their clothes on underwater.
Well, I mean, you can do that.
I know, but it was so funny.
Well, you'd have to understand a little bit more before you.
But it was so funny. I thought it was so funny.
Now we come to the conclusion of our stream.
Okay.
We have a few things to speak of. Speak it. The first one, Netflix Witcher.
Well, I'm reading. Oh yeah, I'm reading the book.
No, not the book. Netflix Witcher.
Well, I want to talk about the book first.
Okay.
So I'm reading the book, which is called the second book in a 5-book saga, which is technically actually a 7-book saga. So it's technically the 4th book, but whatever. Here in America, we call it the 5-book saga. In Poland, it's 7 books, or no, 8 books. It's 8 books.
Well, that's because you're in America. We combine some of the books, though.
No. The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny is book 2. The Last Wish is book 1. Sword of Destiny is book 2 in Poland. Here, they're just called The Last Wish and Sword of Destiny, with their own short stories that's set up for the 5-book saga, which confuses the hell out of everybody in America. You should just do it the way they do in Poland, but it must have been something with the distributor, the person doing the distribution. It must have been something with the publisher to where we can't do it the way they're doing it in Poland, so let's just change things up. Anyways, The Time of Contempt, really, really great book so far. I'm loving it, and I love how wholesome the book is. I'm done. I'm on the 3rd chapter, and I'm reading it, and I love the family unit between Geralt, Yennefer, and Ciri. And Ciri is being handed off to Aretuza by Yennefer because Yennefer wants her to train Aretuza with other mages.
Mommy,
and
where you going?
I love that Ciri kind of figures that out, listening to the conversations. And then she decides to go on her horse to go back into town to say goodbye to Geralt. But she goes into the middle of this storm, basically this cloud storm, where the Wild Hunt is on the run and they're trying to capture her. And so Yennefer goes out running after her. She basically saves her life, and they end up back in town where Geralt is at a pub, basically, at an innkeep, where he's there with Dandelion. And Geralt sees her with Ciri, and then Geralt and Yennefer are basically yelling and arguing about Ciri almost getting killed, being in danger, whatever else. And you don't know what they're saying, but you're kind of getting the gist of it through what Ciri is hearing, and you can't really hear them, and Ciri can't hear them. But
why are Mommy and Daddy? What are they saying?
But Dandelion is making up what they're arguing about, what they're talking about, and Ciri's yelling at him because she knows he's making shit up, and it's probably not true. But Dandelion's like, but it probably is true because I'm the poet here, so I kind of get an idea of what they're saying. Like, it was so great. The sense of humor and the family dynamic and the love that these three have each other is so great. And the sad thing is that by the end of season 2, none of that is in the show. And the show basically butchers these books and butchers that beautiful, soulful, spiritual family thing that's there in the book. And the show, they just fuck it completely. And so season 3, I'm not looking forward to. They're going to be changing a lot of stuff. And it looks like absolute shit. And they're doing all this forced diversity casting of characters that are white in the book and in the games just to piss off people, just to get brownie points or whatever, just to get extra marketing.
DEI points for more money.
And it's just, they're just checking out boxes, and it's absolute shit. And it just looks so bad. I will watch part 1. I'll watch part 2 because last time we're going to see Geralt. But if season 4 doesn't get good reviews or good response, I'm probably not going to watch it or finish it.
No, I'm not going to watch it for the reasons that it butchered the entire story. The story makes no sense. Everything's so.
And the writers don't like the books. The writers don't like the games.
You hired a bunch of college dropouts.
Apparently, Henry Cavill was the only one working on the show that actually loves the material. So that's sad.
And it's sad that the creator is not insisting that they abide by the story of the books. It's
Oh, the book writer doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a fuck at all.
yeah, he
And I don't blame him.
the
As far
books-
as he's concerned, he got millions of dollars. He's a multimillionaire now. He's super successful. He wrote the books to make money, and to him, novels and novelizations are the highest art medium, and that movies and video games are a lesser medium to books. And so he just doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care.
I want to
And
say
he's watched the show and he's like, I've seen better, I've seen worse. I just don't care.
I want to say that the author, the writer, the creator of the Witcher franchise, these books, well, the story was written for his son. His son, unfortunately,
Died 4 years ago.
died 4 years ago. So his desire to create anything more of The Witcher or to manage it more hands-on it's not there.
Yeah, and he's never been.
It was made for one person specifically,
And he was never.
and that person is just not there for him.
Yeah, and Andrei Sapkowski was the one person who was not passionate about The Witcher. He enjoyed.
He only read it for his son to read it.
Yeah. He only wrote it for his son, and he also kept writing it because they were successful, and it was to make money and pay bills. And he enjoyed writing the books, but he wasn't passionate about it. There are other books he had written that he's been more passionate about. There's one trilogy called the Who's some other book trilogy he's written. I'll look it up. But yeah, he's never. And when he for Lady to Lake, he wrote because his publisher wanted one more book out of the books, and he didn't want to write it, but his publisher wanted it and was forcing him to do it. So he just wrote a half-ass ending that was ambiguous, that wasn't entirely satisfying, but it was good enough to spawn a trilogy of games that follows up on that ending. And The Witcher 3 is a masterpiece. So even though the books don't have like a satisfying, ambiguous conclusion, you could, in theory, just imagine that the story continued with The Witcher 3.
Now,
There you go.
Yeah.
And The Witcher 3 is a very satisfying conclusion
Yes.
to the whole story.
Yes. No.
To everything. You
Yes.
know?
I want to make
Because it's created by actual fans of The Witcher who are still fans of The Witcher and are still making The Witcher.
I want to point this out that The Witcher 3 is, if you have not played it yet, please go on out, buy the game, play it. It is phenomenally beautiful in every sense of the word.
Yes.
And to individuals who are unaware of Bloodborne, I'm not sure if it's a PS5 issue. You have the game. It tells you need to have DLC content. I'm not sure if that's an issue or if that's just something that's in the works or if that's intentional. I don't know.
Well, they released their final DLC for The Witcher 3 for next gen, and for involving the armor they had to acquire, and I busted my ass. I fucking grinded. I killed so many bandits. I took all their swords. I sold it for money, and I upgraded all my wolf armor, and I got the Henry Cavill Witcher Season 2 armor that Henry Cavill wears, the armor that I fucking love, and I got it, and I am just making a killing. It's just so great. I'm so happy to get that.
There's one more topic I want to bring up.
It took 9 hours for me to complete all that. 9 hours. 9 hours of grinding to do it.
You are not a true fan. A true fan would have gone down in 3.
What? Another 3 hours?
A true fan would have gone down in 3.
Dude, I was just
Never
fucking.
mind.
I was just grinding like crazy.
Anyways, there's one more topic that we do not have on the list, but I do want to bring it up because.
Hold on. I got the books.
Oh, okay, you got the book?
The Huset trilogy. That's what it is. These are the books that he was passionate about. These are the ones. The Huset trilogy. That's the one. These are the books that's the book.
Wait, did we speak of Secret Invasion?
Oh, we're about to. This is the book trilogy that Andrei Sapkowski was actually very, very passionate about. It's a fantasy book series taking place during the Hussite Wars of the year 1419 to 1434. It was a 15-year war that lasted for a long time. And he released the books every 2 years in the 2000s. And, yeah.
So, one thing we're going to talk about before we come to an
Okay,
end
cool. So let's go
is
to
Secret Invasion.
It's really, really good so far. It has the pacing and the tone of the Captain America sequels by the Russo brothers. It has a really good pace. It's really intense, and it's like about the really bad side of the Skrulls. The Skrulls are invading Earth, and they're trying to take it over and trying to wipe out humanity, and the good Skrulls are trying to stop them with the help of Nick Fury, and it's really, really good. I like it a lot.
Oh.
It's actually a good follow-up to Captain Marvel. You watch Captain Marvel,
you could get right into Secret Invasion.
All right. So we now know that Secret Invasion. Well, we have to know. Does it follow the story of the comics?
I don't know. I haven't read all the comics.
Okay, well then we got an issue there. I have yet to watch it, for I've been busy with other things: Final Fantasy 16, Diablo 4, Street Fighter 6, and
Yeah. So far, I give the first episode of Secret Invasion 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10. So we have now received our first rating of the Secret Invasion. Please put that on Rotten Tomatoes so that they can possibly delete it because they don't agree with your view of things, but also because it will help people to come to understand what is so good about the episode, what is great about it. And you are one of the only few critics or critiques that actually provide just valid justification to your ratings.
And I don't make any money off of Disney, so no one's paying me.
On top of that, Disney wouldn't pay him because he's been critical about a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
One more thing that I want to bring up, because we have another 5 or so minutes for
Not that Disney wouldn't invite you to anything. They do that. Like that one critic who worked for the E! Channel in Canada who shitted all over The Last Jedi. I mean, he got special privileges at Disney's next Star Wars premiere because they liked that he was just brutally honest. He wasn't bullshitting. And he was a mainstream media guy.
Reach out to Disney so they can hire
Yeah.
you. Now you can give your honest thoughts and tell them how bad this fucking shit is with all the fucking undertone messaging. The one thing I want to bring up
Or
is
just bad, just a bad movie. That was also a great thing about his review of The Last Jedi. He didn't criticize feminism or women empowerment or anything. He just talked about how much he just hated The Last Jedi. He didn't. There was no caveat. There was no asterisk. Nothing at all. Because the thing with the Phantom Menace, there's plenty of things that they've said that would be very appealing to racist and misogynistic people. So you could just disregard anything they say on that, right? If you wanted to. But not that guy at the E! Channel. Not that guy. You couldn't do that. Okay? He was a media guy. He was a media talk who was saying how a lot of Star Wars fans felt at the time. And he wasn't pussyfooting around it. He wasn't bullshit.
I want to bring up one more topic because if we get into Star Wars, I'm going to go on a tirade.
I got to eat something before they close this restaurant.
Yeah, we're almost a minute and a half. We're almost an hour and a half. The DEI person in charge at Disney was fired. They say she was let go, though no one.
The diversity hire, the
Diversity, equity, inclusivity, whatever they call this shit. DEI, DIE, whatever.
Just been killing them for the last 4 years.
She was fired.
I appreciate Bob Iger really cleaning house. He also fired so many people from Pixar, and there's so many woke SJWs he's been firing too. Like, I mean, that's why I try to tell these people, like, you guys are getting these jobs because you're great brown nosers, but you're making stuff that's not made to make money because most people are turned off by the preachiness of it. And now you're suffering the consequences by getting fired. You're losing jobs because you're not making money. At the end of the day, Hollywood, even though I love Hollywood, it's still very much a greedy, evil industry that only cares about money. And if you are not putting asses in the seats, you are gone. It doesn't matter if they agree with you politically. Money is the thing that makes Hollywood go.
Money makes the world go round. I want to say just one more thing. God, thank Lord.
Why do you think they keep giving Mel Gibson multiple chances?
Oh, I'm saying.
No matter what Mel Gibson does, no matter what he does, they're going to give him the second and third and fourth chance because that guy on his own made a shit ton of money by himself. In spite of what he said and done, Hollywood can respect it. And they know that this guy is still can potentially make money. So, fuck it.
So I'm going to say this.
We're just going to give him...
You're welcome. Have a good day and have a good night.
Have a good day. We're just going to give him as many chances as we can.
I will say this. This may be a chance for Disney to turn things around. I believe at this point Pixar is a lost cause. I believe Elemental flopped. And I think...
No, Pixar's not a lost cause. Pixar is just going to be making franchises now. They're not going to make anything original. New IPs is not going to be it for Disney, and they're also not going to do too many sequels. But they're going to do Toy Story 5. They're going to do Frozen 3. And, and they're doing Frozen 3, which they should have announced years ago.
Zootopia 2, let's not forget that.
Yeah, Frozen 3. But Frozen 3 is losing one of its directors. Because to be honest with you, they kind of ended the story with Frozen 2. Like Frozen 1 and 2 that was like a 2-part story. Frozen 3 isn't necessarily necessary.
It's a cash grab.
It's just getting made.
It's a cash grab.
Well, yeah, it's just getting made because the first two movies made almost $2.7 billion worldwide in total. So they're just going to keep making them. And Disney Animation is not going to do well this November.
No, Disney Animation.
Even if Wish is a great movie, I just don't see it being
I believe Disney Animation is going to get more axes, more axing.
them too.
It's like cull off the fat on the tenderloin, on the lamb chop.
Even if Wish is well received, gets great reviews, and I just don't see it being a success at the box office. And Disney is not winning the Oscar against the Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, have you noticed?
Across the Spider-Verse, that movie was incredible. See, now, again, Sony, with those movies and those writers and directors, know how to put in woke messaging in a way that is so appealing because they show it visually. Visually, they show that Spider-Gwen, is a supporter of trans rights, or she's a transgender woman. And they did that. They showed that visually. They never told you, but they showed to you visually because of the posters on her wall. And you had to look very closely to find those posters. And when you found them, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is what I've been talking about. This is what I want Disney to do. Like, you don't have to preach and tell people. You could just show people. And the way they do it in these Spider-Man movies is so incredible. Like the first Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse, they showed you Miles Morales' culture, race, and what he's into, and his entire upbringing and his whole background. They showed you his mother speaking Spanish. They showed other people in his neighborhood in Spanish Harlem speaking Spanish. They showed the Puerto Rican flag. They showed the type of shoes he loves. They showed you by letting you listen to the type of music he loves listening to. They showed you everything about Miles Morales and his culture, his upbringing, his race, ethnicity, everything without telling you. They showed it to you. And then in the second movie, they did it with Gwen Stacy by visually showing you that she either is a supporter of trans rights or she's transgender herself or both. And it was so fucking amazing the way they do it, and they get away with it every time because they show it to you, because movies is a visual medium. You can show people and not preach to nobody. And these movies are they're the greatest Spider-Man movies I have ever seen in my life. And I love Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire. I love the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, especially No Way Home. But these Spider-Verse movies with Miles Morales are the best Spider-Man movies, hands down.
I want to say this. I'm not going to comment on the whole Gwen Stacy thing. I've read the comics. I've got my own view on things, and I'll stick with that.
But the way they did it was so just brilliant because it was just great. The execution was great. You couldn't deny it. It was so great.
I want to say that when it comes to films, I've noticed that DreamWorks is taking a lot of jabs at Disney.
No, why not? I mean, sure, why not?
Let's take a look at it. The new movie coming out, the Kraken girl.
Kraken?
Is that the name of the movie? Kraken?
I don't know.
The new movie they have with the girl who's a Kraken,
right.
And then you got the mermaids or the bad guys, but she's the popular girl in school. She happens to look a lot like Ariel.
Oh, okay, right.
And then,
what's the movie called? But why is DreamWorks making?
It should be on the bus stop. Go look at the bus stop.
Okay. Well, it's coming out, right?
Yes.
Oh, so it hasn't
I'm
come out
looking forward to it because I saw.
So it hasn't come out yet.
No, not yet.
But why are they making fun of Disney? What's going on?
I didn't say they were making fun of Disney. I said they're taking jabs. It
Why?
looks like they're taking jabs. Why not? They're able to.
No, but what did they say? What did they do?
They didn't say anything. It's the movies, the references in the movie.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
For a cinephile, you're behind. What the hell?
Dude, I'm not an anime.
It's not anime. Well, it's an animated film, but it's not anime.
No, I know, but I'm just not a junkie on animated movies. I don't keep up with all. I was only interested in Spider-Man Across the Universe. That was the only movie I was interested in.
Of course, it's a Spider-Man thing. I want to say this though. I shouldn't say this. I should make a video about it prior to this. We've been on it for an hour and a half, more than 3 minutes past. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna end it here because it's almost 1 a.m. This man hasn't eaten and his stomach's not growling. If you listen closely.
And I got a ticket for early access to see Mission Impossible 7.
They'll
Reckoning Part 1.
A visit.
I'm looking forward to it because Tom Cruise, even though Mission Impossible movies are political, and so is Top Gun Maverick, he makes movies to entertain an audience. While there's politics there, he wants you to have the best time.
Well, as you should.
As you should. The viewer,
the audience member are supposed to. You pay.
Especially during the summertime where it's your day off. You know, it's your season off. You can chill and go to the movie.
That's what I like about Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is focused on his craft as an entertainer.
And he
as
puts his
an
life
entertainer.
and he puts his life on the line too. He does
And
these crazy stunts that he could fucking die.
Yes,
okay?
he does. He
can
does what
fucking
old
die
school
doing this
actors. He does what old school actors would do, which is do their own stunts because you
He could
want to make
die.
this great for the audience.
And he could die.
Not something I realized.
He's
Like,
risking
I'm
his-
gonna make my own stunts, and it's just 3 fucking stunt doubles.
He's risking his life for my entertainment. It's
He is putting his well-being in harm's way to ensure that we are entertained. I could probably talk about that, but I don't want to.
yeah.
Now, if you want a review on what is truly there for Top Gun Maverick, visit Brian J's Nerd Talk on YouTube. Follow his channel or check his channel out. If you like the content that we are putting out, please hit the like button and then subscribe and hit the notification bell. Stay up to date about what and all content that I, alongside he, if he's here, or anyone else on this channel, speak about and or address, raising, let alone discussing. My name is Steve. This is Steve's Nerd. My name is Steve. This is Steve's Thoughts and Nerd Talk. I couldn't figure out our channel. This is Brian J.
That's your
J's
name
Nerd
of your
Talk.
channel, Steve Thoughts and Nerd Talk.
Yes.
And this is Brian J from Brian J's Nerd Talk. I couldn't live stream on my iPad because my iPad betrayed me. It just chose not to charge.
His iPad said, "Screw you."
Either
Steve."
my charger is fucked or my iPad is fucked. I don't know which. But
I
I'll
would
figure it
recommend
out.
trying with another cable just in case.
I'll try and I'll get a new cable.
So
but-
please, if
Done here. Live
we're,
long and
we'll be
prosper.
leaving. Thank you for coming. And if anything, remember, check back for more. We'll be addressing more topics, conversations, and thoughts. I will be watching I believe it's a Sega stream that's going on tomorrow. Or I will comment on it and make some thoughts. This is Steve's Thoughts Nerd Talk. Thank you for coming. Thank you for stopping by. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye before I do.
All right, great. So it will just immediately go online.